In 1959, 2 years after regaining his sight, he persuaded the publisher of Sepia magazine to underwrite an experiment of traveling disguised as a black man in the American South.
I began my journey by establishing a home base in New Orleans. I knew the city well and felt it was a good place to become acclimated to my new identity. I was able to find a job at a shoe shine stand whose proprietor I had befriended. Customers came, whites, Negroes, and Latin Americans. When we shined their shoes, we talked. The whites, especially the tourists, had no reticence before us and no shame since we were Negroes. Some wanted to know where they could find girls, wanted us to get Negro girls for them. We learned to spot these from the moment they sat down, for they were immediately friendly and treated us with the warmth and courtesy of equals. I mentioned this to Sterling. "Yeah, when they want to sin, they're very democratic," he said. When they paid me, they looked as though I were a stone or a post. They looked and saw nothing.
Nobody know what he went through, that feeling that he went through. When you think about, man, how dangerous it was, the price he was willing to pay. See, it ain't like no little child, a house catcher on fire, and the child run back in and get their doll. You know, they didn't have the reasoning, so a child could never be a hero. But this man had the reasoning to know what he was doing. And said, "I'm gonna do it anyway."
I think that he undertook the Black Like Me experiment because he loved the country, and he wanted to see it live up to its deepest and best commitments, its deepest and best human values. And he saw that violated by the institutions and habits of racism.
I'm doing it for a half a dozen reasons. One was that I was in Europe when I saw racism grow, and I saw the horrible destructiveness of racism insofar as the Jewish people were concerned. When I was blind, I had to judge someone by their quality as a human being, not by any physical characteristic. And it seems to me that our country is involved in a kind of mass insanity, where you can abuse the gift of sight in order to use it to discriminate against somebody. After a week in New Orleans, it was obvious I needed to begin travel to other parts of the South. I selected Mississippi as my first destination, primarily because a recent lynching there had received national attention. I would travel by bus. In the bus station lobby, I looked for signs indicating a colored waiting room, but saw none. I walked up to the ticket counter. When the lady ticket seller saw me, her otherwise attractive face turned sour, violently so. This look was so unexpected and so unprovoked, I was taken aback. Taking care to pitch my voice to politeness, I asked about the next bus to Hattiesburg. She answered rudely and glared at me with such loathing I knew I was receiving what the Negroes call the hate stare. It was my first experience with it. This was so exaggeratedly hateful. I would have been amused if I had not been so surprised. I framed the words in my mind, "Pardon me, but have I done something to offend you?" But I realized I had done nothing. My color offended her. After 6 weeks of travel and with Christmas nearing, I felt it was time to go home. I quit taking the medication which was maintaining the darker skin tones.
When you look at Black Like Me, we will never, especially black folks, we will never know the true effect because we wasn't around that many white folks that understood what he was doing, or understood the benefits that was going to happen, not just to America, but to the whole world. He woke them up.
What Griffin did was so to identify with the black community and its daily life as to experience the diverse
and the breakthrough
humanity. Is the final assertion and experience that the humanity is deeper than any of our differences.